Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. StrangeNet here. So today is first day of FanFest and we've just had the keynote, or we had it 2 hours ago. I've left it 2 hours before starting to make this video because initially I was very angry, I think would be the best way of putting it, but I've reflected on it somewhat and it's just more disappointment. It's FanFest, obviously, with the increase in the price of EVE coming and little being added to the game now for a couple of years. People were expecting something rather large, big, and something really to look forward to. We were told that basically they were getting rid of quadrants and that we were going back to a roadmap. And yeah, Paragon in his address to EVE's populace over the price increase was wait till FanFest, big things are coming, and there's been a lot of speculation to what that could be, whether it be Tech 2 capitals, whether it be new missions, new ships, new this, new that, and basically, yeah, we've had none of that, and I'm going to give you a little list of things that we have had. So I think the single biggest thing that they have announced is that there will be a revamp to faction warfare. Now, some of this looked quite interesting. I used to do a lot of faction warfare when it first came out, probably 10 years ago now, I think it is, somewhere around there, but hey. So I'm quite up on, or was on, faction warfare and really enjoyed it in my time in EVE. But basically what they're doing is they're making it a bit more dynamic, having systems which are closer to each other, having more impact on one another, and some other things indeed. But that's going to be over the course of several years, I think they said. So basically they're not just going to release it in one patch. It's going to be iterations, bit by bit, drip feeding it in. So, okay, fair enough. You know, new content there, and they're going to give it to us slowly but surely. Now, I can live with that. However, the rest of the stuff that they're giving us is, well, isn't really there. So a good portion of what they kind of announced was what I would call arty stuff. And again, it's when things explode, it has an effect on your ship. It's nice lighting and colours and this, that and the other, and a bit of a revamp to bits there. And we will be getting different skins or alliance skins, but basically it's just a logo on your ship, which, okay, fair enough, it's a step in the right direction, but these will only be able to be gotten through a new coin or currency that they're introducing. So these won't be purchasable via cash or via Plex. You'll have to grind out these coins into bus coins, and that's the only way that you'll be able to get these coins, which, again, seems like a very strange way to go, but hey-ho. Another thing that they basically said is that, and again, this was a very short snippet, and if you blinked, you would have missed it, that they are getting rid of attributes, or intending on getting rid of the attribute system. Now, the attribute system is what allows you to train skills at different speeds, and basically should have been got rid of years ago. The fact that it's still in game is generally painful, because it's a little area of the game that very few people really get involved with. And if we take a look here, you can see in the character, once you get to it, attributes. And again, you get to play with these like once a year to be able to remap to help you this, that, and the other. And again, it's an arcade fallback to past years where these attributes were basically fixed on all your characters. However, then they decided that obviously they weren't going to fix them. Everybody would have a base, and that basically you could tweak them every now and then. And now hopefully they're getting rid of them. Another thing they kind of mentioned was that the skill training, the skills were going to be slightly different, and they were going to be done on logging in instead of time based. Now, I don't know whether they'll be doing a hybrid mix of time and logging in, like you currently get the points of logging in and this, that, and the other, but the time based skill training thing in EVE is one of Eve's greatest strengths and possibly one of its greatest weaknesses, as is often the case, and that being able to train and progress your character without actually being online is what really helped me gel with Eve. Because when you're not online and you're not doing anything, you don't feel like you're necessarily missing out. You know, people aren't grinding. I'm playing Diablo 2 right now, and people are grinding as I speak. And the longer I'm away from the game, the more I'm dropping behind everybody else that's rushing to 99. And you don't get that with Eve. But Eve, obviously, you're all training at roughly the same speed. And if I don't log in for a week, as long as my account is plexed, etc., then I am training skills and I don't feel that I am missing out. And therefore, I can take a break from the game when I find that I'm burning out a little and don't feel like I've really lost out. I can come back after setting a skill that I want, find that it's done, and be rather happy with that. So I like that aspect. However, I do understand that it does hold new players back. And understandably, that, you know, I have 18 years of potential skill points, and to catch that up, you either have to pay money, you either have to grind like a madman, buy skill injectors, yada yada yada. So I'm okay with faster train. And again, a lot of vets will say exactly the same, that yes, I've had to train to where I've got to for, you know, literally almost 2 decades now. But if that's holding the game back, then I'm fine with it being amended and changed to help newer players get into ships they want faster. Because, as is often the case, it's not necessarily skill points that hold you back in this game. It is ISK, which is obviously what I often talk about. So having it easier to get into, especially some of the newest ships. I've been training some mining characters recently. My word, have I forgotten how grindy and awful training skills was, and how long it takes. You know, now that I've got 200 million skill points on a character, you know, I've pretty much run out of things that I want to train, and, you know, I've forgotten how much of a grind it can be to not have warp or whatever it is to level 5, and having to do numerous warps over a system and things like that, and just not having the capacitor and this, that, and the other, and not being able to fit the stuff I want, which I can on other characters, you know. And yeah, so I'm not opposed to having the skill system change, but I am kind of opposed to having it so that you're only training if you're logged in or logging in. Again, it was a 10-second snippet that didn't really give you any information, and was just like, we're changing attributes, we're changing the way skills work, and bang, gone. It was like, okay, fine, maybe they'll come back to it, and maybe they will later on in FanFest. Again, I'm not really sure, but it was glossed over pretty quick, and that is, in my opinion, a rather large part of the game is skilling up. So I would have liked to have seen a little bit more iteration on that, elaboration, and yeah, it was just cut dead, and it was a slide basically, and it was gone. And we're also getting some kind of weird linking with Excel spreadsheets, Microsoft Excel, which sounds great in theory, but again, I use Google Spreadsheets because it's free. I don't really want to have to buy a copy of Excel in order to get this extra benefit of, I'm not 100% sure what it was, but yeah, basically they've spoken to Microsoft and Excel and have got some kind of Eve integration with it. So watch this space. We'll see how that turns out and what that can do. But again, I'm having to pay more for my subscription for my account, and then I'm potentially going to have to buy Excel if I want spreadsheets online. That doesn't really sit fantastically well, but hey ho, at least they're trying, I guess. Something about megaroids, and that they're going to have megaroids, whatever that means. They're redoing the NPE, the new player experience, which is great and all that. But again, this was meant to be the keynote. I wanted stuff to be able to look forward to. From the keynote, you know, as it's in the name, it's the keynote. It's the thing. It's the driving force. It's the thing that's going to keep me subbed for the next year. Bearing in mind my subscription and everybody else's has now gone up, or will be going up very, very shortly. So what new stuff is coming? Well, I've pretty much covered it as far as I'm aware of. That was it. It literally fell flat on its face, and it was incredibly disappointing and frustrating as much as anything because there's so many things. You know, in the introduction before the keynote, they were saying about how Capsulia's, what keeps them in New Eden, what keeps them playing, and there was a fancy chart and it was broken down into 4 different areas and yada yada yada. You get the idea. But one of them was people, friendships, and it's not rocket science. We all know this. The game it's an MMO and it's much more fun played with other people. Fantastic, great. So how are we going to get there? What are they doing? And there's lots of things I would have liked to have seen, but again, they've highlighted what keeps people in the game. They've targeted it down and they've broke it down, and it doesn't feel like they're doing anything in regards to that information. So, for instance, right, okay, you've just completed your new player experience. You're now in Eve. I decided that I'm going to run some missions. I want to join a corp that runs missions. Fantastic, great. So you do all that. You join a corp that runs missions, and you find out that basically you're going to be running missions on your own. Yeah, you've got people to chat with on comms or in the browser or whatever, or on Discord, but essentially all missions are run, especially high stake missions, are run solo. And again, it's an easy thing to implement, and that could be so beneficial to anybody joining the game. Because, for instance, you run level 4s, you do it in your battleship, and a new guy's come in and says, "Oh, do you mind if I join you?" And it's like, yeah, you can, but basically all you're doing is just slowing down my efficiency and basically sucking out my the ISK because I'm going to share it with you or loyalty points. So I'm more efficient doing it on my own, and that's not a good place to be. These people have joined a corp to get into missions, and that basically missions are better done solo. Mining, to an extent, is better done solo. I don't have to worry about other people being online. I can get my fleet out. All the ISK is mine. Mining's a little different because there is somewhat of an incentive because boosting and this or that and the other. But I would have liked to have seen something around missions or something, not the current missions. You could have had group-based missions, and you make it so you just have enough people that doesn't necessarily encourage multi-boxing. And what I mean by that is abyssal sites take 3 characters in frigates and is, I won't say easily multi-box, but is very doable to multi-box given enough time and skill. And I would have liked to have seen something along the lines of a group mission that takes 5 or 6 people, so there's a reason to be in a mission running corp, something to get people talking and combined, and that not just, well, I've got a battleship and you've got a battleship, but yeah, pretty much we're better off running it solo because, well, I don't want to share my stuff with you, and there's no benefit. I want to see missions that encourage gameplay. And I was thinking of it earlier afterwards, and the only thing that really encourages, and I might be wrong here, but really encourages gameplay is PvP. And everybody likes PvP, and the reason is because your ship can't do everything, so it makes sense to have other people. You need people tackling, you want people dropping bubbles, you want people doing DPS, you need people to newt and the rest of it. So having and again, no other aspect in Eve other than possibly mining really has that need for other people. And they already know that friendship and people are the thing that makes people like and stay in Eve. And yet the content for group activities within the game is so low or so discouraging. And again, industry's one of them. You can do it with a group of people, but it's much more efficient doing it solo. I, again, had a corp that was opened pretty much, a year ago, half a year, whenever. And it was that kind of struggle to have an industry corp, but how and why? Because again, you can do it so much more efficiently on your own. You don't need other people. And again, that might change when you get to Titans and it, this, that, and the other. But for smaller size industry, you do it on your own. Missioning, you do it on your own. Abyssals, you can do it on your own. The only thing that really needs um, extra people is incursions. Incursions are group based, and look how popular they are. Not only do they pay pretty decently, but there are people queuing to do these missions, these activities in groups, because the rewards there, the fun's there, and the social aspect is there. It hits all the nails on the head, and again, it's such an area that is underdeveloped by CCP. It's staggering. WoW does wow. Because again, you get rage, you need people, and again, it encourages you to. And again, we've got the fantastic thing of having corporations and groups on the game in order to encourage gameplay. And then there's nothing to do when you're in these groups other than go and get your ship blown up, which is fantastic. But there needs to be other stuff, and it's that integration. But you're a new player, you've got a small ship, and you want to run some missions. And again, right, fine, join my corp. Now you can run level level ones, because everybody runs level fours, and basically you're just a hindrance to everybody. Now that you've done level ones, you need to do level twos, grind through that, grind through level threes. Fantastic, you're at level fours. Well, there's no point in you really joining me. Go do it on your own because it's more efficient and you'll probably earn more. And well, it is what it is. Sorry, we don't need you. And then you might as well just be playing on your own because, well, you are playing on your own. It's just, it's mind-boggling that this hasn't been addressed, fixed, or even looked at. Or again, I know they kind of tried with the abyssal sites, but they made it too easy to be able to do solo. And again, 3 accounts is pretty much on the limit. So yeah, so 5 people with decent AI for the NPCs to make it. And again, there'll always be people that can solo this with their 5 accounts, but not many people have 5 accounts. Let's face it. And if they do, trying to multi-box 5 accounts at once in semi-engaging PvE is pretty hard, as anybody that's done it in the abyssal sites will tell you. That yes, it is doable, but you do have to be on the ball, and a little mistake and it all goes horribly wrong and you end up in, well, podded. So yeah, that's what I would have liked to have seen some more of, some group activity play, which I think a lot of the time Eve just is lacking. Or maybe it's just from where I sit. Maybe you guys don't feel that, but it's definitely how I feel, that Eve lacks integrated group gameplay that doesn't have to be even massively rewarding. It's just something to do with other people. Again, people mining high sec with other people, and let's face it, it's kind of the bottom of the barrel in regards to is making. But people like it because it's relaxing and they get to do it with other people. It's the other people that really, I don't know. And again, that's why PvP's exciting. It's exciting. You do it with other people, and there's risk and reward, and it's fun. And again, ships. I don't want to see ships for just ships' sake. I've got to be careful how I say that. But yeah, just whether it's tweaking the current things, I actually expected them to announce the possibility of Tech 2 capitals. Hence the reason where the sudden shift in, right, let's smash the price of capitals back down to where we were, but we'll have slightly, and again, it doesn't need to be Tech 2 resists or Tech 2 this, that, and the other, but a way of burning VPCs for a start, because let's face it, there are probably thousands of Titan BPCs and super capital BPCs and the rest of it that never get used up, so it would have been a good way of using them up. And it doesn't need to be game breakingly much more. 10% extra hit points, or I don't know, take your pick, 10% extra damage, just enough to set them apart, or to give them, I don't know, like an ADC, the hack thing where they can be invulnerable for 15-20 seconds, or again, I'm not a game developer, but just something to set them apart from the current thing, to give people ways of burning current VPCs and just giving them a use and using up others and getting things to be built and just something, you know. There's a whole multitude of other things I would have liked to have seen, but I could go on for hours. But the point is, we got nothing, and I told myself I wasn't going to rant, but I can feel myself ranting here bit by bit, and I didn't want to make another negative video. And as you've noticed, I've been away from making videos for a good while now. I haven't made one in 2-3 weeks, and that's because I was saying to someone this morning, in all good conscience, I can't shill industry to say industry's great, industry's what you should be doing. There's when it keeps changing, and I don't want to be pushing people into something that I'm not confident isn't about to take a huge nosedive and this, that, and the other. And yes, there is this still to be made in industry, and I still love industry. But since the last announcement, the Siege Green, I haven't made a single thing in Eve, and that's not like me at all. And I just feel that I've kind of had the wind, the stuffing knocked out of me a little in regards to industry, and that, you know, I like to push industry. I enjoy industry, and I want to promote it and show other people how, I won't say fun, but how rewarding it can be. And, you know, if it's your kind of gameplay, as it is mine, then fantastic, great. You know, this is what it can be done, and I like to show it off and show people ways and activities of things that they might not have been involved with and how rewarding it can be and this, that, and the other. But I just feel at the moment that I can't do that with a genuine conscience because I don't know what CCP has or had planned, and that, you know, I was kind of on board with the changes last year when they checked the industry change. Everything became more expensive, and it was like, well, fair enough. You know, this is what CCP wants, and well, it's here. You know, a lot of people kicked up a stink, and you know, capitals went through the roof. They wanted less capitals in games, and fair enough. Again, there were still ways to make ISK from that. Anybody that was flying a capital, you know, had a harder time. Yada yada yada. It was what it was. We got on with it, and you know, I promoted it and pushed it, and you know, showed you ways of making ISK or this, that, and the other. And then all of a sudden, nah, sorry, we've decided, we've changed our mind and we're going back. And as I said in the prior video, and I'll say again, I am not against prices of capitals being less or cheaper. It's not a bad thing. But the way that they have gone about it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And that, again, I'm finding it hard to make videos pushing industry when everything can change on the fly, and that doesn't sit particularly well with me. Because, you know, I'm telling you how to get there, how to do this, and then and again, it's not my fault, but you know, I'm promoting this gameplay and it's changing from under us drastic, and it's swinging. The problem is, as I said, the pendulum swings drastically from one side to the other and then back again, and that's no good for stability for things like industry, which take a long time to set up and get going. So back to FanFest. I feel that CCP has really dropped the ball on this one, and the Twitch feed and Reddit feed is on fire at the moment. And to be perfectly honest, I don't really blame them. I came out from watching the keynote just really deflated, and again, I owned an ardor whether to make this video because it just feels like a bit of a punch in the gut, to be honest. I just feel really deflated from it, and that I didn't expect any new content to be released immediately, but I did want to see what they had planned and get excited for the things that they had planned. You know, I wanted to see somebody on stage enthusiastic and excited about the things that were coming to excite me. You know, I've now got a year till potentially their next big announcement, and yet the current announcement was so poor that I've got nothing to get excited for. And again, it's like it's okay, CCP having 100, concentrating on the new player experience and getting people in, but it's the current people they've got here that they need to keep, and there is nothing here that has been added for a good while. And maybe that's the plan. Maybe they just want new players to come in and, experience the bit that they've got and then disappear. And they're plowing resources and stuff into other games, and it just leaves that bitter taste. And I don't want to be bitter. I want to enjoy what we've got. And that's not to say that I don't enjoy what we've got, but it's the fact that there is no real progress or anything to show for the subscription that I pay monthly. There's no updates to the game other than a few visuals and a bit of tweaking again around the corners and the vague promise of faction warfare is going to get X, Y, and Z over the next couple of years. That's just not good enough. People build entire games in that time, and you're tweaking something that's currently in game. Why is it taking so long? And yeah, it just doesn't leave much to get excited about. That's just disappointing, and I don't want to have that bitter taste. And I imagine there's a lot of you going to be feeling exactly the same. And again, as I say, it was initially anger. I was angry about the fact that this isn't an isolated event, but and then over the 2 hours since the keynote, it's just disappointment, and I'm always disappointed. Often disappointed, and that just doesn't sit right. You always go in hoping. I don't expect. I hope that this time is going to be different. This time is going to be something, just something. And again, if you go back over I think it was about 2 years ago. It was one of the earlier videos I made. A video of the Triglavians, my disappointment in Triglavians, or this, that, and the other, and it was just sums it up, that the whole thing. Now, fair enough to CCP, they did go back and tweak the Triglavians somewhat, and props to them to going back and but it's just been left. There is so much that they could do with the Triglavian area, whether they add a few more areas, whether they bring back some of the Triglavians. Christ, they've got a whole arc of content there that has now just been sidelined and forgotten about. There's so much you could do, whether it be new ships, new capitals, new things to explore, new areas of Triglavian space. Poshvin has been incredibly successful in getting stuff blown up because it's sub-capital. You could quite easily open up more areas where you can at least now start putting a station, because the stations are getting blown up, and player stations, that is. And you've got the content there, and it's not been utilized. And half the people playing nowadays probably don't even know that Triglavians are even a thing or were a thing, and that's just a bit sad that someone spent all that time and effort and this, that, and the other. It's just been sidelined and completely ignored. There were areas to build on there, and oh dear, yeah, I'm ranting. Right, yeah, FanFest wasn't impressed. Keynote wasn't impressed. Very disappointed. Expected more, didn't get it. Watch this space, but I imagine that Eve is going to have a hard time over the next couple of months. And as a game that I love and are coming up for my 18th year within Eve, I am very disappointed with, and it saddens me to say that this could be the death throes of Eve, and I don't think I've ever said that, and I had this going on for the last couple of months now, where I've kind of thought, since the drop in the player count, I've actually thought on occasion, this could actually be it. We could be heading for the end of Eve. And, that is what that looks like is open to interpretation, but the player count is dropping. And again, we will reach the critical state where there just isn't enough people to do the stuff that people like to do within game, and that is a horrible spiral that you're not going to get out of anytime soon. So it's okay having these plans for years, but it's now that it needs to be fixed. It's now that you need to get people back into game, because again, when you pass that threshold, it's not coming back, and you're not going to be able to revamp it. You're going to have to be, again, you're just burning through players. They're coming, they're going, they're not staying, and you're alienating your core fan base, which are the people that really keep the lights on and keep the people coming back, train the new people, and push people to do the things. Again, it's just, wow, it's just very disappointing. And yeah, so I hope this isn't going to be the end of Eve. But yeah, at this very moment, I can't say that, with certainty that, it's a meme. It could actually be. Whether Eve makes its 20th birthday at this rate is anybody's guess. So watch this space, but basically I'm a very disappointed StrangeNet at this point. So yeah, thanks for listening. Quite a long one, that one. I do appreciate it if you've made it to the end. Drop a like. Let us know how you feel, what you've been, how disappointed you've been with the whole thing. And yeah, hopefully, to say, CCP will do something that, amazes, surprises, who knows. But at this point, I don't expect anything. And that is just a sad place to leave it. So on that note, thanks for your time. Thanks for listening. I'll hopefully speak to you again soon.